Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. Today, I'm going to do something a bit different. I'm going to be posting about how to play and what of every Forsaken killer and survivor. This will be a pretty long one, so stay tuned. We'll start with the killers, starting out with good old Jason. Jason being the first killer you ever gain, being free to the new players of the game. He has one passive and 4 abilities. His passive makes his terror radius smaller, i.e. being able to not hear him as much coming up to you via the music that will play, being the background music here. His first ability being his slash, with a cooldown of 1.9 seconds or 0.8 if used while enraged. Enraged goes to his raging pace, which I will get to in a minute. You will deal 20 damage from one slash, and you will gain bleeding for 5 seconds. A lunge will be added if he is enraged, henceforth. It's pretty basic, plus there's a kinda close range thing to it. Behead, cooldown of 18.5 seconds, 12 used if enraged. He will lunge towards the killer with a horizontal swing, killing the target completely if at low HP, skipping the kill cutscene or kill animation entirely. Will deal 20 damage. If they still live after you hit them, they will have helpless one for 14 seconds, meaning they cannot use their abilities at all. And I should preface this to survivors. Gashing Wound is his next attack, being pretty quick and doing a lot of damage. It's his best move. The cooldown of 40 seconds and damage of 50. I'll do a quick amount of slashes, and you can hit other people within the range if they run into it. Guests can block this, and I will get that soon enough. Next is his Raging Pace, where he will gain his stamina back but not use any. However, it will cap at 70 after it reaches 90. You'll be running basically free for a few seconds. It's very, very simple. Now, as of how to play him, he's a very close ranged fighter, meaning you should be close up with each target. Do not let them run far, otherwise you will be at a very big disadvantage. One other thing I will mention with this video, I will be putting in milestone skins for the most part, at least their music or Last Man Standing themes. I will do that when we get to the survivors and Last Man Standing. The current music you are hearing is the milestone 3 to 4 with Jason. He's very, very simple. There is no real best map for Jason. He is just there. You have really no range to him besides when you use Raging Pace and mix that with either a Behead or a Slash, which will gain you a little bit more range than you would prior. However, still not the best killer overall. That would go to another character. That next character being Cool Kid. Now, Cool Kid, he has no passive abilities. However, he also has 4 abilities himself. His punch being his melee attack with a cooldown of 2 seconds. Just does a basic punch doing 26.5 damage. And he has his Corrupt Nature, which can launch a projectile through walls and in any direction he so pleases. Damage of 15, cooldown of 12 seconds, which will give any person slowness 1 for 4 seconds, and their aura being the indicator for 10 seconds. It can go through other people and walls, meaning you're not safe even if you're behind someone. His next attack being a Walk Speed Override, cooldown of 20 seconds, damage of 25. Very short windup. Cool Kid will just lunge forward at you for a couple of seconds. If he hits a survivor, they deal 25 damage and then burn 1 for 10 seconds, basically taking 10 extra damage along with it, dealing a total of 35. If he hits a wall, just stops, and then you're stuck for a few seconds, and then you can go. Pizza Delivery, last one on him. Cooldown of 50 seconds, damage of 15. However, there is burning damage for 3 seconds, as well as slowness 2. He will send out 2 minions tracking the nearest person. Sometimes it will send after the farthest person. It's really, really weird with how it goes. However, it's not too bad to deal with. Cool Kid also has the most music within his skins, one of which being the one you're hearing now being Blue Dude. I have no idea the relation to Cool Kid himself. It's just a blue version of Cool Kid, who is also a streamer. There's a few others going with Cupcakes, which plays a remix of, I don't even know, something from My Little Pony, whatever. Pretty Princess, being a party guest, or not a party guest, a leader, so to speak. Color and Electricity, I don't really know the theme for that one or what it is. Masked Man, being a remix of something from Mother 3 and Earthbound, I guess someone would know. Savior, being the skin for something Undertale related. And there's Mafioso, which I'm sure all of you know from Dream Game if you've ever played. Which I will play his music in a minute. Now, as for how to play Cool Kid, he is a ranged but also close range fighter. Recommended, you use your punch whenever you're close. Simple as that. Corrupt Nature for anyone high or about to escape. Your walk speed override. Use when close to a survivor, you are short on stamina and need to get close, or if you know you can guarantee a hit. Do not just lunge for no reason. Do know which direction you are facing, because he will lunge in that said direction. He will not let go of that for 2 whole seconds. Meaning, wherever you're going is where you're ending up. Do not be surprised if you end up going the wrong direction because you were facing the wrong direction. Lag can also incur that, so note that. There is no pure map that's good for Cool Kid. He's there again for for Jason. He's just all over the place. Being a kid, he's pretty damn fast for being one. Just note, don't run in a straight line when you're dealing with a Cool Kid. He can and will most likely get you. His fire damage is his best bet of dealing complete damage to kill. So note that whenever you're on fire. You cannot do any tasks whilst on fire. You can't build dispensers or sentries as Builderman, and you cannot do a generator as any character. And certain things will be cancelled out if on fire. So note that for whenever you are playing. Just so I'm not stuck on Cool Kid for forever, I'm going to move on to John Doe. He has 2 passives and 3 abilities. Actually, make that 4. He has one of his passives being Natural Malevolence, meaning he has a trail behind him. Every step that John Doe takes, corruption follows. I'm taking that directly from his page. Any survivor that falls within it has corruption 2 for 3 seconds, for as long as they are within said range. You are not safe if you are behind him, which makes it hard for 2 times, which I will get to. His other passive being Unstoppable, where he can only be stunned for 2.175 seconds. So no matter who you are playing, no matter at what range, he can only be stunned for that long. His first ability being known as Slash, dealing 28 damage and has a cooldown of 1.75 seconds. Very simple, just like all the others, Slash in front. However, it does nothing to the person. Just note his hitbox is a little weird. It falls a little bit behind him compared to being in front of him like all the rest. His next one, Corrupt Energy. Cooldown of 18 seconds, damage 12 for each spike. He'll punch into the ground and send a bunch of spikes wherever he's facing. Wherever you turn him is where the spikes will then lead to. Note that. We'll give John Doe speed 1 for 7 seconds for each one that has been summoned. And nobody can get past the spikes. However, Two-Time I think can jump over them accidentally. Next up is Digital Footprint, which has a cooldown of 8 seconds. We'll stomp on the ground, summoning some shadow thing below him, being his digital footprint. You can have 3 of them at once, so note that, and if you place a 4th, it will remove the 3rd or the first one you ever placed. Basically like Demo Man's sticky bombs. Survivor steps on him, John Doe will gain speed for 10 seconds, and the survivor gets Corruption 1 and Slowness 2 for 10 seconds. Corruption is basically like bleeding, fire, or poison. Very, very good for John Doe, I suppose. It will also despawn after 165 seconds, which will hardly happen unless you have a very, very long round. His last one being 404 Error. Cooldown of 20 seconds, and it will reveal survivors for 4 seconds. All survivors from anywhere. It's a pretty neat one, however it's only a tracking, doesn't actually do damage. Now, as of how to play John Doe, he is a very strategic type of character to play. Do not expect him to be easy when you pick him up. Leave him towards last, or at least as your second or third character. He is very difficult to play. You'll have to think about where survivors run, and you'll have to think about every move you make, whatever slash you swing, whatever corrupt energy you send, you have to be wary of what you do. He's not a pick up and learn instantly. So people may play like that, but you can't just go run head first like you could do with Cool Kid or Jason. He does have something with Elliot, but I'll get to that when I get to Elliot on Survivors. And the last killer on this list being 1x4 or 1x1x1x1. Weird name, don't make it easy on this for me. So I just call him 1x4 or 1x. He has 1 passive and 4 abilities. Wait. I lied. 5. He has 1 passive being Parasitic, where every attack he does, he inflicts glitched and poisoned to some degree, most likely stacking every time you hit. I don't know, I haven't been hit by a 1x a lot. I try not to. Now his slash, basic attack like all the rest, cooldown at 1.75, damage 20. He'll swing his sword in front of him, and will inflict glitched 1 for 5 seconds and poison 1 for the same. Obviously poison, doing 1 damage every second. It will, if you get up to poison 2 or poison whatever, it'll just go down by whatever the implement or the increase in it is for however long. His next attack, Mass Infection. Cooldown of 14 seconds, damage 35. After a windup of a few seconds, he will launch his attack, going through basically anything, which will inflict poison 5 if he hits a player up close, as well as glitch 2, and glitched 1 and poison 1 for 5 seconds if with the shockwave created, which that will be your most likely hit. And it can be heard from basically across every bit of the map. His next one being Entanglement, which with a cooldown of 18 seconds and damage of 10, he'll launch an attack which will trap a survivor. You'll have to click 5 pop-ups to free themselves. If they don't, get rid of 1, they will not be able to escape. 1X gets speed 2 for every time they hit, and they're also, and the survivors have helpless 1 for 10 seconds, and they have slowness X when they're captured, which is slowness 10, doing literally nothing to move. And they gain speed 1 after they leave. And he has unstable eye, which basically is just his tracking. The cooldown 25 seconds, he'll see everyone on the map for a few seconds, where he'll gain speed 1 for 6.5 seconds, and also blindness 3 for 6.5 seconds. So note, you will not be able to see when using 1X's ability. However, if you can still see, it's good. Last ability being Rejuvenate the Rotten, with the longest cooldown in the game being 200 seconds, where after he kills a player, he can use Rejuvenate the Rotten, basically bringing any dead players back to life as a minion, where they will each have a very little amount of HP and deal very little damage to each player. However, if you kill your minions, you will gain speed up to however many minions you kill. So note that for your own gain. As of how to actually play 1X, it is quite difficult. Kinda. Anytime you catch a survivor within your entanglement, it's recommended to get as close as you can. If you know the player is slow, and you can get up close to them and charge a mass infection, and I mean slow as all hell, you can get a close-up hit after you do an entanglement and get up close. Unless you already are close, then you can just charge both. If they are a quick player, do not attempt this. Run up to them and just whack them. Deal up to 30 damage. It's the best you can do. Not recommended to try and do another mass infection immediately after. Kind of keep them at about half. They have about the same cooldown besides 4 seconds, which can make a difference. If your entanglement is about halfway and you think you can get a good shot with mass infection, go for it. Your entanglement should be basically done and your mass infection will be at half. You want to keep them at about half on each. Just so that way once you use one, in a few seconds you can use the other one. Don't try and use both of them immediately unless you know they're on like a generator or something. Entanglement, mass infection immediately after when you have the ability to. There are no good maps for 1X besides maybe Underground War and Cool Carnival, considering they are mostly level, except for minor segments where they go down and or up. Note that for your own gain. The last thing I will mention with 1X is Strzelecki will be one of your biggest weaknesses. Do not worry though, because even if he's the last one, just make sure prior to being the LMS, you weaken him enough to where he's had to use both of his chickens. Kill the Elliots first, or at least keep them somewhere nearby. It'll be your best bet of winning. Alright, moving from the killers, we move on to the survivors. We'll start with the free ones, and then go into the paid ones, going one at a time. Starting out with Noob. Noob is one of the easiest yet hardest to learn. He only has 3 abilities, and they're pretty self-explanatory. His first ability being the Bloxy Cola, having a cooldown of 12 seconds. He'll drink it for a few seconds, and gain speed 1 for 10 seconds. He'll lose a bit of speed, cannot sprint, and it can only be used twice per round. Then he has a Slate Skin Potion with a cooldown of 65 seconds. He drinks it, he'll have Slate Skin 2 for 6 seconds. If the Slate Skin effect wears off, he gains speed, like naturally, not by a killer. He'll gain speed 2 for 2 seconds. And it can only be used twice per round. He has one more thing known as the Ghost Burger. The cooldown of 45 seconds, he gains Undetectable and Invisibility 3. His Undetectable goes for 10 seconds, his Invisibility goes for 8 seconds. While he's eating, he's a lot slower, basically as slow as drinking a Slate Skin Potion. How to play him. Basically, just keep to yourself. Stay away from the killer as long as you can, and if you are the last man standing, make sure you have at least one Slate Skin and one Bloxy Cola. Your Ghost Burger doesn't matter, that's infinite. When the last man standing begins, immediately eat the Ghost Burger. If you can, if you know someone's going to die, and you are the last man standing, immediately eat the Ghost Burger. It will save you, especially if it's a cool kid, because they will have no idea where you are. He's very simple, and there is no map additions to this. It's just wherever. Just do your best. The next one I'm going to talk about is Shabletsky. You all know him, and you all hate him, most likely. He only has 2 abilities, so he's a real quick talker. You have a Slash, cooldown of 40 seconds, and damage 30. Yes, he does damage. He pulls out a sword from the Sword Fight on the Heights, AE, one of the games the admin Shabletsky was known for playing and also making. He has resistance 2 for when he uses it, and is also slowing down. However, if he hits the killer, he will stun them. Sorry for my stuttering. The last thing he has is Fried Chicken. It can only be used twice and has a cooldown of 70 seconds. It restores 5 HP upon consumption and 35 over the span of 10 seconds. And if a killer hits him whilst he is regaining HP, it is just cancelled. He's pretty easy, and he's known as a sentinel, meaning trying to defend himself and other people. He's usually used to protect, along with guest. Considering the Slash can be used infinitely after a decently long time of a cooldown, he is pretty good on defense. Just note that. Next up is the Pizza Boy Elliot. He has 2 passives and 2 abilities. His first passive is Order Up. Any objective contributed towards doing a generator, he gains a 5% increase of how much he heals. However, it only stacks up to 25. And he has another one, which is also a debuff. Wait, nope, I lied. Whenever a survivor is at a very low HP, 15 minimum, their aura is revealed to Elliot for 4 seconds, knowing, hey, run and heal them. Now, how do they heal, you may ask? Well, that comes with his abilities. His Pizza Throw, which will toss a pizza in front of him after 45 seconds of a cooldown. It will heal the survivor within 35 HP. It despawns after 25 seconds, though, so be quick. You cannot heal yourself, so you're going to need to rely on medkits for that. Other pizzas thrown by Elliots can heal. However, the more Elliots you have on a team, the less healing you will get. Beware that. Then his next ability is Rush Hour with a cooldown of 30 seconds. However, you'll probably only need to use this once per round, unless you are absolutely getting targeted. You gain speed 3 for 3 seconds to run away. It is pretty useful, I will say that. And if you heal another player after you use it, you will gain your charge back for it. However, healing another Elliot does not count for the ability. He always starts out with 1 charge. You cannot store anything more. It's just if you run, you run. Basically stick kind of near your sentinels, but also away from the killer. Next up is another sentinel, being 2-time. He has 1 passive, known as Oblitation, where when you stab someone, you will gain Oblitation. A face stab, being at the front of a person, will only gain about 25% of said bar, compared to if you do a backstab, which will gain half of the bar. And that is how you get your second life. You have your Sacrificial Dagger as your first ability, where you will stab the killer. Very, very simple. You have resistance 1 for 0.7 seconds. And you will also heal very few HP. Just note that. You have a Crouch, which when you crouch down, you're silent and you have Undetectable Invisibility 3 for 5 seconds. However, if you get hit with Helpless, or you uncrouch manually, we'll remove the statuses. And when you use the stab, you will lunge instead of just going a few inches. And lastly is Ritual, which is where his respawn location is. You can only have one of these at one point. He's very simple. Try and get your obliteration as quick as possible before you go in and try to survive in a last man standing. Next up is Guest 1337, also known as the Last Guest. 1 passive and 3 abilities. His passive, Made to Last, will give him 15 more HP. His first ability is Block. When you block, you gain a charge for your punch. You can only block melee attacks. With a cooldown of 24 seconds, it will gain resistance 5, basically invincibility. You'll gain a charge for it for your punch. And we'll get to that in a second. Your charge, with its cooldown of 45 seconds, will launch in a shoulder bash towards whatever direction you're facing. You can turn it slightly. Don't really recommend it unless you're going to miss the killer. If you collide to the killer is knocked back and their abilities are locked for 1.25 seconds. You are also basically invincible for that 1.25 seconds. However, it isn't really that good unless you're going to bash them off of a high location. A being like the castle on the Brandon Works or someplace like that. Then his punch, the thing everybody loves. I don't know the cooldown on it, but he'll wind up his fist and punch the killer. It will stun them, but if you do it directly after you do a block, you will have a parry, which will stun the killer for a lot longer, also give you more XP later on. He's also a sentinel, meaning play towards the front lines and defend your healers. You can take a hit for someone if you are in front of them when the killer attacks. Next up is Builderman himself. He has no passives and only has 2 abilities. He is a support along with Elliot, and his first one being Sentry Construction. Cooldown of 45 seconds, and the Sentry has 30 HP. He'll build a Sentry in front of him, which can be blocked by most killer attacks except for Jason and or 1X's many attacks that go through, same with John Doe's Corrupt Energy. He'll build a Sentry which can shoot and they will not stun, but will slow down the killer to a certain degree. His next one is Dispenser Construction, 45 seconds on cooldown, and the Dispenser only has 15 HP, meaning it's a lot easier to kill the Dispenser than it is the Sentry. That will heal other people, including yourself, so use that to your advantage. I recommend building the Dispenser kind of away from all the action, away where killers and survivors don't usually go. I mean, maybe survivors, but not killers. Put the Sentry out in the open. Doesn't really matter if it gets destroyed, especially if they don't notice it for a while. Some people will go directly after the Sentry, others will not. Now, as Plead slowly fades in, we load into 007, which has 1 passive and has 3 abilities. His passive, he will always be able to see the furthest survivor spawn from him. AE, where a survivor can spawn, except where you may or may not. His first ability being Clone has a cooldown of 27 seconds and will turn you invisible and undetectable for 4 seconds. And the clone will run wherever you set the inject. I will get to that. However, if the clone hits 007 while invisible, you are given weakness 2 for 4 seconds and the clone will immediately die. Then he has this cool GUI. Cooldown of 50 seconds, and he stands basically in place for 6 seconds before teleporting to the furthest spawn, where that passive comes in handy. Then there's Inject. 0 second cooldown is the quickest one in the entire game. But basically, he will switch the clone's movement. Aimless Wandering, Pathfinding, or Cursor. Cursor, obvious. Aimless Wandering, also obvious. Pathfinding goes to the furthest survivor spawn, so do not use a clone and then use a cool GUI when you're on that. Use that to your advantage when running. Note that. Stay away from everyone as much as possible, and on a last man standing, try and get them away from you, but enough where you can use a cool GUI whilst they're running to you so they have to run across the map. As I quickly run out of last man standings, we'll get to Dusakar. He has one passive where he does not make a sound on the ground, meaning no footsteps. 2 abilities, Spawn Location and Plasma Beam. Cooldown of 35 seconds on spawn protection, where basically you make the person you are protecting invincible, but you are very slow. Very basic on that. Plasma Beam, cooldown of 20 seconds, giving them speed. If you hit a survivor, you give them speed 1. If you hit a killer, you gain slowness 2 for 3 seconds. It is lowered by every Dusakar within the range. He should be played in the back lines. Don't go for direct hits. Just note. 2 more characters, then I'm done with this. Taff. He has 2 abilities, Tripwire and Subspace Trip Mine. The Tripwire has a 25-second cooldown. If a killer walks into a tripwire, it will notify everyone within 100 studs radius where they are. And the killer gains slowness 2 for 4 seconds. And the Subspace Trip Mine, cooldown for 40 seconds. He'll throw a Subspace Trip Mine in front of him, detonates when the killer is within 16 studs, and detonates after 0.4 seconds. It will automatically disable itself after a while. Recommend playing Taff as a support. Kind of throw a random area around you and make that your defense spot. If it gets overrun by a killer, run, find a new one. Last and my favorite survivor, being Chance. Has 1 passive, Unpredictable Fate. His HP is set between 70 to 90 whenever you start the game. He has 4 abilities. Chance's Favor, which is a coin, 0.5 seconds on cooldown. He flips a coin. If it lands on heads, he gains a charge for all the other abilities. If it lands on tails, you get weakness. The weakness has no cap. Literally. His one shot, which is his gun, has a cooldown of 40 seconds. 3 things can happen to it. Nothing, it explodes, dealing 45 damage, plus whatever weakness, and a 50% chance it actually fires, sending the killer within 90 studs for 1 to 4 seconds. It is a linear shot. AE will not go up and or down. Every charge success rate will go up by 20%, while everything else will go down by 20%. By 10, I lied. His reroll, 20-second cooldown. You use your charges, and you will re-roll your health between 60 to 120. It'll be intensified by 3% every time you get a bad roll. Starts off with 0, capped at 3, removes every other charge in the ability. And Hat Fix, cooldown of 60 seconds. Upon activating, all weakness stacks are gone, and it can fix your gun whenever it is done. However, you can only use it after reaching 3 charges on your coin flip. Note that. Play him pretty hard, but also kind of keep him away if you have high weakness. Use Hat Fixes and try and get your health over 100 if you can with your reroll if you do not get good rolls. Use your gun whenever necessary, but really only when you're backed into a corner. Do not test it, especially when you're in the last man standing. I would know. I'm max level. Anyways, as my voice slowly dies from doing that fast segment of Chance, I thank you all for watching this video. Hope you would enjoyed this long-ass segmented video, and I will most likely post some more in some other time. Thank you all for watching. V1 White, out.